Well, a lot to get to this morning. Hard to choose where to begin.
Well, really hard to choose where to begin. There's a New York Times lead story here, though. Great story on Trump embraces shadowy plots and eroding trusts. And this is something that, as the article points out, this is something that the guy did. Obviously, wasn't bound to the truth while he was working day in and day out. And there weren't great consequences. But, you know, John, I mean, you look at the story and you look at his presidency, and it really is. He's brought conspiracy theories, plots during the campaign. Of course, Ted Cruz's father killed JFK. You could go on and on and on. I mean, it's in part what makes following this presidency so dizzying, but also what actually Republicans should be far more concerned about than even Bill Clinton saying he didn't know what the meaning of is. That is, I don't know what the meaning of is supersized a billion times.
Yeah, well, and look, I think, you know, there's been, at various times, Trump has seemed attracted to conspiracy theories. There's obviously much remarked upon looseness with the truth and the lies, et cetera, but the obsession with conspiracy theories and tall tales, as you say, Joe, dates back for a long time. I think the point right now, though, is that he's using them to a particular kind of political effect, and there was a fair amount of people are starting to really pay attention to the fact that as Trump pounds home these conspiracy theories, he's doing something essentially tactical, and he's doing it to some effect. He's starting to drive Republican faith in the Mueller investigation in particular down and turning it into a partisan issue, and that works to his advantage in the long run.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's what Leslie Stahl had said. He basically admitted to, where, hey, I attack the press and I bring up all these wild conspiracy theories because when you write something negative about me, people will be less likely to believe me.
Well, remember, the foundation of his political career was birtherism. So that's the big conspiracy theory, that a sitting president wasn't born in the United States. He got a foothold with that. He got traction with that. His profile was raised by that and eventually drove him to run for president of the United States. So he's leaned on these conspiracy theories since the beginning of his political life.
Yeah, and then you mix that, and you talk about the swamp, you mix in all the lies, which he says he does on purpose to throw off the public from the press. And then, you know, talk about the swampiest swamp of all. Look what's happening in China right now, where you have a technology company that both Republicans and Democrats say are posing a grave threat to America's national security, Richard Haass. And he has promised to keep them alive right after, of course, he gets $500 million from China to Indonesian resorts associated with his own. And what Mika is about to talk about, the lead story, which is also, you know, in exchange for family members getting sweetheart business deals.
And there's no evidence, shall we say, of explicit quid pro quos, but the fact that we're having this conversation tells you that no one who works at the White House ever ought to put themselves in a position where conversations like this arise. That's the reason, if you'll pardon the expression, you have things like Chinese walls, and you build all sorts of barriers against what could be seen as the appearance of conflict of interest. And instead, there's just simply zero sensitivity to it. Without, I can't sit here and say, again, there are deals, but again, the fact that there could be, and we're having the conversation.
It's unbelievable.
As Bill Clinton said, if a turtle gets on top of a fence post, it didn't happen by accident. If Donald Trump tweets out one day that he's worried about saving Chinese jobs and he's going to save a company that actually Democrats and Republicans alike say pose a grave risk to U.S. national security, he's not just tweeting that because he wants them to love him the next time he gets down to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He's tweeting it for a reason, and we found out actually now 2 financial reasons.
Yeah, we're going to get to that now. We have a lot to get to. We went to baseball games all weekend long. I don't know if you guys saw the Yankees game and what had happened to Rudy Giuliani, but he got a big message from the crowd on his birthday. We'll show it later.
Birthday, the king of New York.
He doesn't get the message now about
You're just going to tease us?
He was
America's
knighted
mayor
by the Queen. And this is another example, Mika. Rudy, we'll play it later, but booed by the crowd there. Here's a guy that was New York. The mayor of New York, the mayor of America, the guy that took everybody through 9/11. And again, it's one more example of people who are debasing themselves for a man who will show no loyalty in return.
And that is what your column in the Washington Post is all about. We'll get to that as well. We'll also get to the status of Trump's on again, off again, in a big way, on again, off again, on again, off again, summit with North Korea's dictator in just a moment. But first, the details with Ivanka Trump's big businesses. In addition to being one of the president's top White House advisors, she was awarded 7 new trademarks by China this month on everything from books to housewares to cushions. The trademarks came around the same time President Trump vowed to find a way to prevent Chinese telecommunications ZTE from going bust. The Washington Post reports that 6 days before the announcement, China approved 5 of Ivanka Trump's trademarks, and then on May 21st, the country awarded her 2 more. Ivanka Trump has now 34 trademarks in China that would allow her to build her brand in the world's second largest economy.
Willie, I'm just a dumb country lawyer. I don't know a whole lot. But I thought
Feels
I remembered.
like it might be inappropriate.
I thought I remembered. Didn't they say they weren't going to do any new deals? Like in foreign countries, they weren't going to expand in foreign countries and new deals. Didn't they say something like that?
Yeah, there was a tweet during the transition in December of 2016 where the president wrote, quote, "No new deals will be done during my term in office." President Trump dealing with Beijing on issues like security and trade. His family's business dealings there raise obvious questions. President Trump did not divest from his businesses, but he publicly claimed he would limit the Trump Organization's work, tweeting, as I said, "No new deals will be done during my term in office." The papers he signed a month later only limited that to new international business. Here is Sherry Dillon, the tax lawyer who drafted the president-elect Donald Trump's trust documents in early 2017.
The trust agreement, as directed by President Trump, imposes severe restrictions on new deals. No new foreign deals will be made whatsoever during the duration of President Trump's presidency.
Read
Wait.
my
I'm confused.
lips. No new foreign deals. And yet, John Heilemann, one new foreign deal after another new foreign deal. And, you know, I think we could even have a debate if Ivanka Trump were not in the White House.
Yeah.
If Ivanka Trump were not employed there, if Ivanka Trump were not sent across
Using
the
it
globe
as a platform.
in official capacity. But we cannot.
I wouldn't have that debate, but okay.
Yeah, but we cannot have that debate at all because, you know, leaders have said, they have told reporters off the record, they know that the best way to curry favor with the commander-in-chief, with the president of the United States, is to play nice with his daughter.
Right.
They have said that repeatedly. And here we go, China giving trademarks that will be worth millions and millions of dollars in the future to Ivanka Trump. Into the fastest growing market in the world. It's worth millions and millions. And now we're seeing Donald Trump finally deciding he's worried about jobs in China.
Yeah. Well, you know, Chinese jobs was the centerpiece of his campaign. I don't know if you remember this, the notion of making China great again. No, maybe not. Look, this discussion from
I do remember.
Make China great again.
I do remember, instead of Make China Great Again, it was Make America Great Again.
Oh, yeah.
On the back of China.
Right.
Because they've been screwing us for too many years.
Yes, bad trade deals, and we got walked all over by the Chinese. I think, you know, we have seen since the transition, really, that we've had a fleeting and sporadic reacquaintance and acquaintance with the notion of the emoluments clause in the Constitution. There has been, I think, you know, a systematic shredding of it and trampling on it over the course of this White House. Every once in a while, it comes to the fore, though, in such a glaring way. You know, it goes on day by day, every day at the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C., where people come and pour money into Donald Trump's pocket in order to try to curry favor with the White House. There are a million ways in which the White House is benefiting financially from the president, in both in the spirit and the letter, contravening the spirit and the letter of that clause of the Constitution. But every once in a while, something like this happens that's so flagrant that we're all forced to focus on it again. You look at it and just say, it's just utterly outrageous.
And again,
and yet it goes on every day.
Problem is, Mika, again, he is keeping alive a company that there's bipartisan agreement causes a national security risk to the United States of America. I always talk about when Bill Clinton let the biggest donor to the DNC transfer missile technology to China to make a buck.
Yeah.
That's what we have here. Except, I don't think Chelsea got a lot in return for that.
Yeah.
But Ivanka is.
Ivanka is. She's treated really harshly over the weekend on social media for pictures that she posted. But this seems like such a flagrant conflict that violates everything that when you go to the White House, it's what you vow to do. And it appears that she's just working on her brand. President Trump on this topic is pushing a deal to keep ZTE in business. It involves a bigger financial fine against the company and installing U.S. compliance officers and new board members. Still, it's receiving bipartisan criticism. Democratic Senator Mark Warner called it a big mistake and said in a statement President Trump should listen to the advice of his intelligence leaders who have unanimously said that ZTE poses a national security threat to the United States. And Senator Marco Rubio called it a great deal for ZTE and China.
China is trying to overtake the United States as the world's most powerful country. They're not doing it by out-innovating us or out-competing us. They are doing it by stealing. They steal our intellectual property. They force our companies to transfer this stuff over. And the only way that we're going to stop them is that they face significant consequences for continuing what they are doing. Putting out of business a company like ZTE is the kind of significant consequence that China would respond to understand that we're serious.
You know, when you hear this, Heidi, you wonder, I wonder what they're saying more on Capitol Hill, but also, you know, what are we missing about this conflict with the president's daughter, who works in the White House?
This does seem to be a breaking point here in terms of the bipartisan outrage on Capitol Hill, given that not only was there not support on Capitol Hill, there was no interagency process. The president surprised his own aides by doing this. And to the politics of it, I just wanted to chime in on the deal-making aspect of this, because there were two big selling points that this president had when he was running for office. One was that he was a deal maker, that he could go in and cut good deals for the American people. And the second was that he was running against exactly the essence of the essence of the swamp, the pay-to-play politics with foreign governments, the Clinton Foundation, for instance. How many times did we hear him hammer Hillary Clinton on this? And then to turn around and be defending a company like ZTE, which has been sanctioned for doing business with Iran and North Korea, is really the essence of what he ran against. But to the point of deal making, is this really a bad deal if it's a good deal for him? And that is the question that we have here. We don't know that there was a quid pro quo, but like Joe says, two different potential ways that the president and his family could be benefiting. But the question is it a good deal for the American people? And the answer to that appears to be no, according to Capitol Hill and according to his own aides.
So Jim Vandehei, there may not be explicit quid pro quo. We don't know that yet. But put yourself in the position of China giving out trademarks when the daughter of the President of the United States, who works at his side, works inside the White House, approaches you and said, I'd like these trademarks. What do you think you're going to do if you want to create a business relationship and keep that open with the United States? I guess my question is, does the White House care at all about this? They put that, attorney out. We played the clip there about 1.5 years ago saying, yes, we've divested from this and we've divested from that. And the president said there will be no new deals for the Trump organization. But they go on unabated here. They are a business-first family, and they weren't going to let being president of the United States stop that.
They don't care. I don't think they care at all about the criticism. They're used to the criticism. This is why you don't have family members in a White House. This is why when you become president or a top official, you totally divest yourself of your holdings to avoid situations like this. Marco Rubio nailed it. This isn't just about one company. China has like 3 different strategies to basically eat our lunch economically, and one of them is to steal our technology. And that's what Trump said he was going to go after. If I want to go do business business in China. They're going to make me form a joint venture, and then they force you to transfer your technology. So they basically do steal our technology secrets. And so by going after this company, that would have been a big deal. And by the way, the president's own Pentagon says you couldn't use these cell phones on military bases because they assume they would be used for espionage. And that's why this isn't like a petty politics, oh, the media's after Ivanka story. It's a huge story with consequences not just for today and our national security, but our long-term positioning in our sort of economic war with China. And China's winning that war.
He's putting personal finances of his family above America's national security. I think, sadly, here we are a year and a half later, nobody's surprised. The question is, what should Congress do about it? What can they do about it? And again, you know, I hear people say, well, there's no explicit evidence of a quid pro quo. Well, there, you know what? There really is. You look at Donald Trump, because what you look for is you look for people that are doing things that they would not regularly do before the payoff or after the payoff. Things that are out of character. And here, we all just stopped in our tracks and said, wait a second. Donald Trump is worried about saving Chinese jobs? Wait a second. Donald Trump is worried about saving a Chinese company that is committing espionage against the United States of America? Wait a minute. Donald Trump is going in and letting China off the mat on this company that is an international bad actor? Well, this doesn't make any sense.
Seems unusual.
And then we find out his daughter, right before that, you know, the Chinese gave him a payoff, gave Ivanka Trump trademarks and access to the Chinese market in a way that will make her millions and millions of dollars, even after Donald Trump has left the White House.
Look, it's an implicit quid pro quo. My hunch is the Chinese and the Trumps are not stupid enough to make it explicit. But the fact that, again, we're having this conversation, it's going on, it's one hell of a coincidence, shall we say. Why doesn't Congress use its hearing power? They could basically investigate this firm. They could investigate what's going on with the White House. They can compare whether other people are getting trademarks or not.
Who would you put in charge of that? Devin Nunes?
Yeah. Well, but maybe Bob Corker. Why doesn't the Senate Foreign? Why can't Republicans step up? Just why can't no? This could all happen after November elections. Why can't Republicans step up?
Can you point to an example where Republicans have stepped up on anything in the past year and a half?
You know what? I got to say also. I'm tired of speeches, and I'll just say Jeff Flake. I love Jeff Flake. And all these other guys, I'm tired of speeches. You want to do something? You know what? There are 2 votes. Jeff Flake needs to find somebody else. And whatever the issue is, if it's ZTE, you go to Bob Corker, you go to somebody else and say, you know what? And I know personally because we did this. And say, we're shutting the floor down. We're not going to pass anything else. We're not going to pass any of your appointments. We're not going to do anything until you come over here and your people talk to us. And we make sure that, again, pick whatever it is. Issue. Ripping infants from the arms of mothers.
That could be a good one.
Or allowing a Chinese espionage firm to get off the mat. You know, enough with the speeches. I really don't want to hear your speeches if you keep giving Donald Trump your vote.
Thin air.
It's 5 months from the midterms or whatever it is now. The idea that Republicans who've had no appetite for holding the presidency at any kind of account over the course of the first year and a half are suddenly going to, 5 months after the midterms, start holding potentially embarrassing hearings to a president they've lashed themselves to all the more tightly. I agree with you. We all at this table would vote for it in a second, and if I could shut down the floor of the United States Senate and force oversight hearings, I would do it too. But I don't see any sign of Republican appetite for this today any more than there was yesterday or the day before.
The most remarkable thing is, Jim VandeHei, and you were there when 11 of us shut down the floor in the House and just said nothing's happening until fill in the blank. Well, in this case, it's Jeff Flake, who's leaving, and one other person who's leaving, who can say, hey, enough. Until, and probably it's the investigation, the Robert Mueller investigation, until this nonsense stops where you're revealing sources, you're bashing the intel agencies, and you are trying to get in the way of an investigation into your own wrongdoing, nothing moves on the Senate floor. Why can't they do that?
I think Heilman nailed it. Unfortunately, there's almost no Republican who's not retiring who has spoken out against Donald Trump. The idea that they would do it now seems highly, highly unlikely. They're so worried about their base, so worried that 80% of people in their district who would vote for them, who are Republicans, like Donald Trump. You know, I watched the John McCain documentary last night. There's just not that many people like McCain who are willing to sort of stand up to the president and take the backlash from the party, because the party is, like the Democratic Party, has been very polarized, and you have to play to the base, and it really has. And some of these people that I know quite well, to see them sit there and say things publicly that we know when we talk to them in private they don't believe. Many of these people, by the way, that's the thing people should realize. Most of these Republicans that are sitting there and saying, oh, nothing to see here, when you're talking to them off the record at parties in Washington, they're trashing Trump. They don't like what he's doing. They're horrified by it. But you never see it in public, and I think that just speaks to our politics today. And I would say the fact there's no courage in politics, or very little courage in politics.
The Republican Party is more pro-Trump now at the level of the rank and file. Jeez. It's more pro-Trump now than it was the day that he won the presidency or the day that he was inaugurated. And as long as that's the fundamental truth of that obtains, the combination of the lack of courage in general on the part of pretty much everybody, but specifically Republicans in the House and Senate, reinforced by the notion that the Republican Party is more pro-Trump now than it was before, means that there's going to be no change until the political calculus changes, and that's not going to happen until after. Maybe until after, but the earliest opportunity you see is the day after the midterms, so if Republicans take a licking.
And let's be clear who they're supporting more today than ever before. A guy who in 2015 called for the banning of all Muslims coming into the United States. A guy who in 2016 played dumb when asked about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan. He knew nothing about their history and would not criticize them. A guy in 2017 who preached moral relativity between white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and Democratic protesters. And a guy in 2018 who has accused Hispanics of breeding, who, as always, jumbles his words in a way to always have an escape route, but called somebody animals, either a gang group or Hispanics in general. You go back and look at the transcript and be the judge, but he always does that. So his people can interpret in the worst way. And now has a policy where he is allowing infants to be ripped from their mother's arms and lying about it.
Manipulating the truth.
Is who's getting more support among Republicans than ever before.
Congratulations to the Republican Party. Jim Vandehei, thank you. Still ahead on Morning Joe, the former director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, joins us live. We'll talk to him about the Russia probe and what this ZTE issue means for national security. Plus, President Trump strikes a positive tone about the North Korea summit just days after canceling it. We'll talk about that.
This is like a 7th grade romance.
Honestly, it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
I'm dating Billy. We broke up. I'm dating Billy. We broke up.
Wait. Anyhow, and speaking of not being able to make a decision,
come on,
let's go to Bill Cairns with a check on the very messy forecast. Bill, the rain.
Is it spring? Is it summer?
It can't make its mind up, can it? Yeah, and of course, Florida had the tropical storm. We had 16 tornadoes. We had this incredible flooding in Maryland, Ellicott City. Have you seen the pictures of this and the devastation over the weekend? I mean, just incredible stuff. This is the second time in 22 months that this city saw this torrential amount of rain in a short period of time. I mean, one life was lost. They are still looking for the person, hopefully, but they're, now it's becoming a, instead of a rescue, it's probably going to be a recovery mission. And the damage that was done to this downtown Ellicott City is just incredible. A lot of work to be done. So let's get to Alberto. This was made landfall yesterday, just to the west of Panama City and just to the east of Pensacola. It is now bringing you a rainy morning in Montgomery, Alabama, and now the rain is arriving in Birmingham. So what's left of this system still has enough moisture for flash flooding. flooding. 27 million people at risk today. We're going all the way from Panama City to Nashville, and eventually that rain will make its way into southern Indiana and Illinois. And even the mountains of North Carolina and South Carolina and Virginia could get some problems out of that, too. And as far as the path goes, we take it today up towards Decatur, then through Nashville overnight tonight, and then tomorrow up through Indiana, and then eventually up here through areas of Michigan. So the rainfall totals possibly 1 to 3 inches. That's going to be the big deal. And as Joe was mentioning, some areas feel like summer, still in the 90s today in the plains. We'll deal with severe weather there, too. So we'll give you all the updates on all the crazy weather from this past Memorial Day weekend and what we're going on this week. Washington, D.C., you're one of those spots. It's going to be cloudy today. You avoid that heavy rain. Geez, look at that. Poor visibility this morning. That's not good for if you have a flight out this morning at Dulles. You're watching Morning Joe. We'll be right back.
As a control enthusiast, I'm all business when I travel. Even when I travel for leisure. So I go national, where I can choose any available upgrade in the aisle without starting any conversations or paying any F charges. What can I say? Control suits me. Go national. Go like a pro.
Oh, look. Another anti-wrinkle cream in no hurry to make anything happen. Neutrogena Rapid Wrinkle Repair works in just 1 week with the fastest retinol formula to visibly reduce wrinkles. Neutrogena.
To most, he's Phil Mickelson, pro golfer. To me, he's, well, Dad. So when his joint pain from psoriatic arthritis got really bad, it scared me. And what could that pain mean?
Joint pain could mean joint damage. Enbrel helps relieve joint pain, helps stop irreversible joint damage, and helps skin get clearer. Enbrel may lower your ability to fight infections, serious, sometimes fatal events, including infections, tuberculosis, lymphoma, other cancers, nervous system and blood disorders, and allergic reactions have occurred. Tell your doctor if you've been someplace where fungal infections are common, or if you're prone to infections, have cuts or sores, have had hepatitis B, have been treated for heart failure, or if you have persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or paleness. Don't start Enbrel if you have an infection like the flu.
Since Enbrel, Dad's back to being Dad.
Visit Enbrel.com and use the joint damage simulator to see how your joint damage could be progressing.
Ask about Enbrel. Enbrel. FDA approved for over 15 years.
I was wondering if an electric toothbrush really cleans better than a manual, and my hygienist says it does, but they're not all the same. Who knew? I had no idea. So she said look for one that's shaped like a dental tool with a round brush head.
Go pro with Oral-B. Oral-B's rounded brush head surrounds each tooth to gently remove more plaque. And Oral-B is the first electric toothbrush brand accepted by the American Dental Association for its effectiveness and safety.
My mouth feels so clean. I'll only use an Oral-B.
Oral-B. Brush like a pro. Don't juggle your home life and work life without it. And don't forget who you're really working for without it. Funding to help grow your business. Another way we have your back. The powerful backing of American Express. Don't do business without it.
With my bladder leakage, the products I've tried just didn't fit right. They were very saggy. It's getting in the way of our camping trips. But with new sizes, Depend Fit Flex is made for me.
Introducing more sizes for better comfort. New Depend Fit Flex underwear is guaranteed to be your best fit.
People everywhere are getting clear skin results that'll blow you away. Get ready for a skin clearing breakthrough from America's #1 acne brand. It's called Proactive MD. Check out how annoying blemishes disappear. Random blackheads dissolve away. Even red, painful pimples can vanish.
Pictures are worth 1,000 words. Proactive MD definitely works.
The secret is a prescription-strength retinoid that you can only get from a doctor until now. Sold separately, the new Proactive MD 3-piece system costs $45. But order before time runs out and pay only $19.95. More than half off.
Proactive MD is the only thing that's worked for me. My skin has never looked this good.
Act fast and get our all-new charcoal cleansing brush, a $55 value, free.
Getting that brush for free? I mean, why wouldn't you do that?
Proactive MD is guaranteed to work or your money back. Go online or call 1-800-585-1931.
Have you ever seen anybody make Memorial Day about themselves?
I do it every year.
Impossible.
It is about.
I do it. I do it every year.
No,
you make it about you?
About me, yeah.
Can you imagine making Memorial Day about you?
I don't think anybody would do that.
No.
Did you see Barack Obama's tweet about Memorial Day yesterday?
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's already moving.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Did you see John
So
McCain's tweet
presidential.
about Memorial Day yesterday?
Well,
I'm sure it was respectful.
No, it was extraordinarily moving.
Yeah.
Did you see Donald Trump's tweet?
Believe it or not,
Memorial
the
Day
president
yesterday?
made Memorial Day about him.
Why should Memorial Day be different
Here's
than any other day,
his
Mika?
tweet. Quote, Happy Memorial Day. Those